So,
Glad it's
Oh,
not
did
me.
you do a live event earlier and playing guitar? Oh, is that
no, that's just
not-
my picture.
Oh.
All right. Let's get Neil full screen. All right, Neil, you're up on the main screen. Hey, everybody. All right, cool. You guys ready to get rolling?
Yeah.
All right, sweet. Well, thanks everybody for joining us. I'm Chris. This is Matt. We're here with Brett and Neil from Field Force Systems, and we're going to talk about a whole bunch of stuff today. Crypto as an actual currency, and then I kind of want to dive into your guys' backgrounds and let you guys introduce yourselves, so that way people know what we're about to get into and what they can kind of expect. So, Brett, can you kick us off? Let everybody know who you are, what you do, and then Neil, if you can give some of your background, I think that'll give the audience some good context on how long you've been in this game, how much you know about this stuff, even though you say you don't know anything. I can almost guarantee you know 1,000 times more than me. So, Brett, if you could kick it off for us.
Yeah, my I have a heavy background in programming and a lot of IT. I'm the owner of Field Force Systems, and that's kind of what brought the relationship with Neil. We've been developing a lot of different products. As of recently, we've had endless conversations around blockchain, around NFT development. You're walking by the everyday person, and it's like they're immediately interested in NFTs and what they're about because they're hearing about them more and more, and they're it's a very, very exciting industry, a lot of innovation.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, I mean, I got into it because I was like, hey, what the hell are NFTs? What is cryptocurrency, and how did they print 40% of the money that's in circulation in the past 2 years? How did that come about? That didn't make any sense to me. So kind of looking at some of this stuff, I wanted to see, what the alternatives were out there. And that's how you and I started talking for our last podcast. So you said after we got off last time, you're like, oh, Neil is the guy. Neil knows like everything that we need to know about this. So yeah, Neil, can you give us a quick rundown of your background, how you got into some of this stuff?
Yeah. What I think's going on is I think there's like a higher consciousness that's coming through us in the planet right now. And I think that a lot of the systems that we had in place were born out of a time where there was a lot of fear on the planet and worry and lack and limitation. And I think now we're in a time where we've solved a lot of those problems and we don't need to put our energy into those things that don't serve us anymore. And it's a time to let go of those things. And it's a time to focus our energy on what it is we do want to see and what we do want to build. So we were just kind of talking before the show, like where your attention goes, your energy goes. And so whatever you're giving your attention to, I think it's good to check in with yourself, maybe even put your hands on your heart for a moment, which I know is like kind of funny, but it works. And then just ask yourself, is this something that matters or not? There's so much information coming at us today, like through TikTok or through whatever, the movies, or just like talking to your friend.
Yeah.
And it's important right now more than ever to like be a little disciplined with your attention so that you create a reality that you actually want to live in.
Yeah, I agree. And so part of that too. So I guess if you could, to give everybody like a background of how you got into this, you
Sure.
kind of had, in this case, you had a lot of your attention focused on the traditional path of finance, right? Of going
Yeah.
through and doing the standard financial planning, and then you made a switch back in like 2017 ish. So like, what was your original path, and then how did you switch
Sure.
into getting into this type of stuff, the crypto stuff?
Sure. So I was like a music guy originally. I'm a guitar player since I was 4 years old. And when I got to college, I didn't really know what I wanted to do. and I took this economics class, and it was all about like social economics, can people get in? How many people should we have open borders or closed borders? Should marijuana be legal or not legal back then? Like, it was kind of these cool topics, you know. So I was like, all right, I'll major in economics. So I went to school and studied economics and political science. I got out right around that time. My stepfather passed away, so I was like, oh, I got to make money now. So I was like, what's the best thing to do? Oh, I'll just be a financial advisor. I got an economics background, so I went to work for American Express Financial Advisors. I did that. I was like a real go-getter, so I was not afraid to put myself out there and do the failure thing and then have the success thing. And it all I enjoyed it a lot too. I had a lot of fun with it. Then I went to a bank and I worked there for 5 years as like an investment advisor, a major US bank, and got to see how the ins and outs of the banking system worked. Then I went to a wirehouse for a couple years, Edward Jones.
Okay.
I took over an office there. I was a certified financial planner like in 2010. And then I went to PricewaterhouseCoopers, like a major consulting firm, learned how those people work, which is cool if that's what you're into. And then I bought a registered investment advisory practice, which was this like private wealth management business. And I ran that for 3 or 4 years. And then around the third or fourth year, I learned about Bitcoin. And that was like 2017. So I converted it to a Bitcoin hedge fund, which was quite the experience. You know, Bitcoin's kind of like the tip of the iceberg. It's like, you know about that, and then it awakens you or makes you more aware
Yeah.
of other things that are possibilities that are available, of new ways of being, and then also like stuff that was fucked up with the old system, you know? And so around that time, I got kind of pissed off for a little while because I'd kind of bought hook, line, and sinker into this old like system, not really on purpose, but just being like, this just is where the money was, kind of thing, following the money. I was like a top insurance salesman for a bunch of years and all this stuff. So like I was in that, and then all of a sudden I was like pissed off, and I was like, you know, how could these people abuse our trust? And then after I got pissed off, I was like, you know what? I kind of get it. I get that they were doing the best that they could do with the consciousness that they had in that moment. And I was like, you know, you kind of reach acceptance. Okay, well, that's the way it is. That sucks, right?
Yeah.
And then you're like, okay, well, now we got all this new technology, so we can create something new that we like, right? So you can kind of start to get optimistic about things. And if things suck too bad, you can always go outside and go for a walk in nature, or like play your guitar, or hang out with your family or kids or whatever you have. And then you can like get serious about creating something that's beneficial for everybody. And I think that's where I ended up with Brett. I really wanted to create things inside of technology that could kind of be the underlying structure for freedom for people, because a lot of people weren't really aware of how the old system was keeping them enslaved. So now I meet with CEOs from around the country and the world and co-create with them on how to bring their ideas to reality through the technology that's available to us. And it's a lot of fun. I really enjoy what I do.
Okay. Hell yeah. Well, thank you guys for coming. I appreciate it. And so if you guys are good with me steering the conversation this way, I kind of want to cover two things, and maybe I can give you a bit of a background of why this stuff interests me and what I'm trying to do for the audience. So I'm seeing everything get locked down with COVID, and in that time when you would think naturally the stock market would crash, it goes up to insane amounts. They're printing money like crazy, and nobody can really give me an answer as to why any of this is happening, and all of the answers that I hear make literally no sense. So part of what interested me in this stuff was, believe it or not, that guy John McAfee from the McAfee Security, you know, I think people like shit on his face and stuff like that. So he's got his own weird quirks and things, but he had like something where he was talking about it as currency. And I was like, wow, I've never thought of it that way. And now that I'm learning more about this stuff, I'm seeing that there's a ton of possibilities that come from this. So I want to talk about if you can talk about some of the possibilities that come from this technology that you see as a way that can lead to freedom, as a way that can kind of revolutionize the banking system, the money system, the way that we transact with each other. And then after we go through that, I kind of want to talk about some of the pitfalls of the current system and why they're set up this way and why we're seeing some of this weirdness that we are. I know that's a whole bunch of things, but I don't know, Neil, are you good to
Yeah, that's
kind of
great.
take that?
Sure.
Cool.
So consider that every day you get gifted from whatever you believe in, God, the universe, you get gifted with energy. And you get to decide what you want to give your energy to throughout your day. And there's no right or wrong answer. You can't get it wrong. Whatever you give your energy to is what you give your energy to,
Yeah.
you know? And so consider that sometimes in order for us to get energy, we go out and we eat things, whether it's cows and chickens and animals, or even if it's plants and stuff like that. We eat something else that has consciousness to give ourselves energy, right?
Yep.
So when we came into this reality or this version of this time period, we inherited some systems. And those systems were designed by a group of, I'll call them beings because I don't know who they are. And those beings designed our systems so that our energy would go to them. And that energy might be in the form of, now follow this language, it's kind of really interesting. Sometimes stuff is hidden straight in plain sight. The currency, right, flows down a river with banks. In order to get in or out of the river, you got to go through the banks. The citizenships float on the river. It's all been there the whole time for the corporation in the United States. And that's okay. We can thank that system because the four of us in here, we live a life that's got more abundance, more freedom than anybody else that comes before us on the planet. You could have been the richest person on the planet 50 years ago or 100 years ago, and you wouldn't have a life that's as good as ours.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
So we can thank that system for all the abundance that it's brought us and kind of just accept that whoever put it together, they were taking our energy just like we take energy in order for us to have energy. And that they didn't know any better. And it's like maybe the only way that they knew how to survive.
Yeah. Or maybe
You
even it could just be that's all that they had available to them. Like that's all the technology could do. That's all the resources that they had.
Yeah.
Something
Or they
like
didn't
that.
they couldn't see that far ahead, or they, the reality is we don't have a clue what's going on here.
Yeah.
Aliens are real now, like, who knows what happened. But what we can do is just say that there was these systems that we inherited that have agreements to them. Now, we may not agree to those anymore. We may have just agreed to agree to them because it was like the status quo and we didn't know any better.
Yeah.
But now, thanks to like the pandemic and thanks to the crypto revolution and thanks to like a bunch of sort of higher consciousness things that are coming in, we all are more aware. And so we can say, you know what? I don't agree to that anymore. I see through that game you got going there. And you know what? I'm not going to play it anymore. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to withdraw my energy from it, that energy that you get gifted every day. I'm going to withdraw my energy from it, and I'm going to give it over here to something that I want to create.
Yeah.
See, an experience. More than that, if you wake up in the morning and ask yourself, what kind of experience do I want to have today? And then put your energy into things that will create that experience for others, you will receive that same experience.
Yep.
You're always getting what you're putting out. So by you doing this podcast, you're sharing truths with others, which gives them some more light in their lives. which gives you more light in your life indirectly. It comes to you through, because the universe is infinite. It has all these different ways to take care of you.
Yep. Agreed.
So I think that kind of answers like the first part of your question as to like what's going on here with crypto specifically and blockchain. You and me can interact with each other, and we don't have to give our energy to the banks, to the time that it takes for things to go from one end of your account to my account, or we just have a lot more freedom. We have these smart contracts in place now, and actually I just got off the phone with someone today. He was transferring some money to somebody in Brazil for like the appraisal of like a gold mine or something, and it went through the Swift banking system. It got lost, it got rejected. Did you know there's like 10 intermediaries that go between here and when it finally gets there? And that's what all the friction is in the system. What's friction? Friction is a way for you to give your energy to that.
Okay.
But
I've never actually thought of it like that. Matt, have you ever thought of it?
No, that's cool. I've never heard it put in, I guess, a philosophical manner like that, Neil, which makes it a lot more human. Because for me and Brett, you had, on the last podcast talked about how tech for a lot of people it's scary.
Yeah,
it's like, and I'm one of those guys. It's like I don't understand a lot of this stuff, but that putting it in those terms, that's an amazing way to look at it.
Yeah.
I do have a question I don't want to get off track, but when you guys found out about say just crypto in general in 2017, it truly is a revolution. Did you guys think that that's how it was going to be? Did you know right away in your hearts, yes, I know that this is going to be something big in the future? Or was it kind of over time it progressed and you kind of got away from one system and went over to this new system?
There's with Neil, it's Natoshi Nakamoto that created Bitcoin, right? Like I think
something
of him,
like that, yeah.
I think of him as like the Eric Snowden. Like he was inside the inner workings of government and saw what they were doing.
We don't know who he is.
Right.
Like, he could have been a group. He could have been those ETs we were talking about. Like, it's just an anonymous group that after the 2008 market crash, the financial system failed. We got this 3-page white paper that had the mathematics on there for us to totally disrupt any financial system that we've ever had before and give us a way to interact with each other and do business and transfer value without going through a centralized agency like the Fed or the banks.
So I guess for you guys, was that when you came across this, did you first see it as like, oh, here's a way to actually like to start something new that can actually be a vehicle for freedom, for decentralization, to get us away from this current system, which, like you said, Neil, it seems like it's no longer serving us. It's like we're serving something else versus having something that ends up serving us. Because for me, money is like, I don't view money as the root of all evil. If you let it run your life, it can be. But I think money can be like a great way to kind of level the playing field for most people. But it seems like our money has been kind of corrupted. So did you guys look at this as that when you first saw it? Did you think of it like a fad, or did you think of it like maybe it was short-sighted? Like, where were you guys at when you first came across it?
Go ahead, Neil.
Go ahead, Brent. Okay. I saw it just because I studied economics and I have like a really wide angle view of things.
Yep.
And so for me, it's like people who build things, they're usually experts in one thing. And I was expert in money and how people made decisions. And so I saw how, and I had clients and I had a business, and so I saw how this solved all the problems that all these people over here were complaining about. There's one little thing over here just kind of unlocked the whole thing. So for me, the way it happened for me is like, I don't know, people talk about like time, whether it's real or whether it's not real, but like for me, the transition has already happened.
What do you mean?
When the financial system failed in 2008, it broke completely. And I was sitting in a corner office at a bank when it happened as a financial advisor, so I'll never forget it. And then when Bitcoin came out, it was a solution to not having things be too big to fail.
Mm.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
So
okay. Okay. Interesting. So what were, if I could ask this, what were some of those problems that you were seeing in this industry, right? Where you said Bitcoin, the white paper comes out, and then you look at it and you go, okay, this mathematical equation seems to solve all of these problems that all of these people are talking about. Like, what were those problems that you saw? And then how did you, just from a high level, how did you feel like Bitcoin actually solved those?
well, probably one of the biggest things on the planet is that a small group of people go and have a meeting behind closed doors, then they come out and they tell us all the way that it is.
So what meeting is that? Like when the Fed meets?
When the dollar went and got tagged to oil, for example, which has given the dollar all its power the whole time. They had a meeting with people in Saudi, and they came out with with oil being traded in dollars. Therefore, everybody needed dollars who was going to buy oil, and oil makes the world go round. So it's really the petrodollar, petroleum dollar. That was a few people that went into a room together that came out. And what can happen is something called a 51% attack, is what we call it in blockchain. And that's where three people go into a room, two of them get together and decide how the meeting's going to go and what people are going to agree to, and have maybe a side deal going on. The third person doesn't have a choice in the matter. So the two people colluded against the third person. That could happen with 10 people or 50 people. It doesn't matter. But with blockchain, with the decentralization, there's no more incentives for people to collude like that. It's very difficult for you to do a 51% attack on, let's say, like the Bitcoin network, and even beyond that, like the Avalanche network. You gotta get 80% of people to collude. And now these nodes are around the world. There's thousands of them, so it's very difficult to do that. Whereas before in history, it was really easy for me and Brett, who like to go down to the spot together and, put together our side deals, to come out with something that was really beneficial for us. We didn't really care if it was beneficial for you, because it was really good for us.
Yeah. And so what you guys are saying is, by the nature of the decentralized network, since, and I'm butchering this, but since Bitcoin runs off of all of these different nodes throughout the world, pretty much, to authenticate the ledger and authenticate all these transactions, there's not really a central way for somebody to go in and basically coerce all of this stuff, or it would be very difficult.
I gotta tell you, I don't know. I don't know who invented it. I don't know if there's a back door somewhere in it.
Yeah.
Where, like, you know what? I don't know. What I do know is this. If I can just give you a little background on what I believe about vibration, because this will help clarify.
Yeah.
I think that you're a vibration, and that I'm vibration, and that everything is vibration. It's all light is reflecting off of different vibrations, and that changes the color, and that changes the matter and how things feel. And so I think that the highest vibration in the universe is love. Put your hands on your heart. If you keep your hands there for 2 minutes, you'll have a smile on your face, and you'll be feeling more loving. And after that, you'll want to, like, do something nice for somebody, or laugh with somebody, or say something nice, right? Now, consider money was born out of a much lower vibration than love. Love is unconditional love. Sure, I'll come and help you today. How can I help you?
Yep.
I feel great. Let me share that with you. Conditional is, I'll meet with you on your podcast today, but that's $1,000, $10,000, $500. Doesn't matter what the dollar amount is. That's conditional. I need you to transfer money to me for me to show up in this capacity for you.
Sure.
So it's a much lower vibration. Additionally, money. How much money is enough money? Do you guys know?
Nobody's quite figured it out yet, it seems.
So it really encourages a feeling of lack. Like, I'll be enough when I have A, B, C. I'll be happy when I have C, D, F, G. Like anything, consider that anything that you want in life, you want because of a feeling that you think it's going to give you.
Okay.
Right?
Yep.
So if you think that something outside of you is going to give you a feeling inside, you're going to be really disappointed. I've had a lot of nice cars. I've had some houses. I've had some different things that I thought were going to make me feel good. And I used to drink a lot, and they don't really make you feel good for that long.
Yeah. It's
like a short-lived thing.
Yep.
And so we're us humans are all running around looking for things out here to make us feel good in here, when maybe it's an inside job. We got to figure out how to feel good in here and let the reflection back match how we feel inside.
Okay.
So these two vibrations, money, remember I said some people or beings put together a system for us to be and dance with that keeps us in a certain vibration. Because when you're scared, you're really easy to control.
Yep. Well, we're seeing that big time over the past year and a half, and it's kind of, and that concerns me. But yeah, it is very true.
To add some
you don't have
validity,
to be concerned.
Think about like all
Pull
this
that up.
Think about all this COVID crap, right? So, people are working, people are going shopping, eating out, living their lives. So the government's losing the narrative, right? So everyone's bypassing, ignoring government. And all of a sudden there's a new boogeyman to continue that fear. Because what better way to control someone when you create doubt? When you create like fear. If you don't do this, you're gonna die.
Well, yeah, that's been the narrative for the past year and a half.
So,
but it's backfired.
Yeah,
it has.
I think
tenfold.
We're all closer than ever before, right?
Yeah,
a lot of us. Yeah,
I think so.
I guess I'm just saying that in supplementary to what you're saying about living in fear and how easy it really is to control people when you have them living in a constant state of fear.
Yeah, it's much easier. Well, and so that's okay. So you've got, I see what you're saying. So you have the vibrations. You have love on one vibration, then you have money on a lower vibration, and then you have a group of people that did put that together, and then all right. So we're there. So where does that take us from there in terms of how we got here, and then what the possibilities are for this technology?
I mean, I think that how we got here is just by agreeing to something that we didn't understand.
Okay.
Through ignorance in a way. Like we were like, oh, okay, like, oh yeah, that's going on over there. All right, that's cool with me. I'll just look over here. Or that sucks, but I'm not going to do anything about it.
So is that, so do you feel like that's how you got caught up in the current system as it is from all your years in like finance and everything? It was just like, hey, I kind of understand it, but I see this opportunity, I'm just going with it. Is that why you were pissed once you kind of saw the bigger picture?
Yeah, I think I was like, I mean, you call it the current system. I don't think of it like that. I think it's the past system. I think that it broke a while ago. It's like the music stopped at the party, but some people are still dancing, but
yeah.
There's no music,
Yeah.
So if you want, you can stop doing that dance and you can start doing a new dance. And a lot of the new dance is around the freedoms that crypto gives you, and blockchain and decentralized autonomous organizations and all these things that are built on that similar technology. And I think this technology, it brings us a step closer to a more evolved society.
Okay.
But I don't think it's the last step. I think it's a stepping stone to what will be. The technology that we have now is better than what we had. It's still been around for a while, just because like you're learning about it now. There's somebody that created this stuff 12, 13 years ago, and there's a bunch of other people that came behind it that have been building things, businesses on it since. So
yeah,
not to say that like you're late or anything, but just to say that, like, there's probably another thing to come.
Well,
It
yeah.
could be right around the corner, could be here already. And if we get with that, maybe there'll be something new possible with that.
Sure. Sure. Well, and I feel so that's part of why I wanted to talk about this stuff, because I think a lot of people are kind of at where I'm at. It's like, okay, I've been hearing about this stuff forever, and now I feel like, you kind of get hooked in by the, like, oh, somebody bought this for $600,000 NFT. Somebody bought Decentralized plot for $2-something million. So you hear these things, you're like, what the hell is this? But I think a lot of people are kind of at where I'm at, of like diving into this now, even though we know I am late to the game. Like, I know you probably feel like you're
I'm very late.
Yeah. So that's kind of the feeling. So, all right. So let's say that was the old system, right? The old way. What were those problems that came up from the financial crash? So like with the financial crisis, what were those problems that got shown, and what were all of those things that your customers, like in the industry, that where it's like, hey, these are all broken and blockchain can solve this? What were those problems?
It's a little bit more philosophical rather than getting into the specific problems. If we could just look at it from a more 10,000 foot view. Okay. Let's take insurance. I told you I sold a lot of insurance. Insurance is a way to manage risk. So when you are looking to manage risk, are you scared maybe? Or are you thinking you're more like in that abundance frequency?
Definitely, you're definitely operating more from fear.
More from fear. Okay, cool. So, and then is insurance like first of all, is insurance profitable?
It must be, if they've been doing it for this long.
You got to assume they use it.
Yeah.
I remember I was 21 years old. I worked at a bank and I sold this policy, and my commission on it in 1 month, it was August of 2008. I bought a house afterwards. My commission that month was $188,000.
Shit.
Wow.
So like, insurance is really profitable, and it ended up working out. That lady ended up passing away, and 3 times more money went to her grandson as a result than what she was going to leave. So it was a win-win. It's just that, like, okay, so it's profitable. We know that. The sale mostly comes out of fear. You get an insurance person in your house, they're going to tell you like all the things that can go wrong, right? Which is about getting out into the future, which, you want to know where anxiety comes from? It goes from time traveling into the future and playing the what if game.
Oh yeah.
Depression is going into the past and going, oh man, I wish that worked out different.
Well, dude, that is where the value of like being in the present moment and all that kind of stuff comes from. Just because, I spend so much time thinking about all of the shit that could go wrong, or that I think I have to do, and all these things, and then you start spinning and spinning and spinning, and then it's like, all right, well, I didn't end up getting anything done, so now I'm sitting here 4 hours later with nothing more advanced. If I just paid attention to what I was doing, I would have been that much better off. But sorry to derail you. I'm just saying, I agree.
No. You made the case perfectly. So let's give people a taste of the now. Right now, we have an abundance of oxygen and clean air. Everyone can take a deep breath, and it feels good, right? And it goes into our body, and our lungs have the ability to send the perfect amount of oxygen to give our cells the perfect amount of balance that it needs for us to have this experience. So right now we have abundance. That's what abundance feels like, okay? We have trillions of cells that make up our body that we had to attract to ourselves to have this experience. That's abundance. We have clean water to drink, which we need because we're made out of a lot of water. That's abundance. We can get enough sleep every night to feel good. That's abundance. We have enough sustenance to eat. That's abundance. We have a relationship. It doesn't have to be with a person. It could be with a plant. That's all you need. That's abundance. And then the last one is creativity. And that's the part that I think a lot of people are missing these days, where if you don't have to do something like to change the planet, but if you just get creative and rearrange leaves in the corner of the room, if that's what you want to do, but that's your creative impulse, or make some music with that MIDI board that's in front of you,
Yeah.
you know, or to sing a song or whatever it is, that's creativity. And that's where like excitement and happiness and joy comes in. That's abundance.
Yeah.
Did any of those take any money?
No, not inherently.
They don't have to.
They don't have to. So we kind of got duped into believing that the things that we needed in order to be happy had to come through a certain monetary system on a certain vibration. And by believing that, we got into dance with it. And whatever you did dance with, you vibrate with.
Okay.
So the alternative is you prioritize how you feel every day. You wake up in the morning, you meditate, quiet your mind, stop those thoughts from coming in that were coming in from the day before about maybe the future or the past, or like, and you follow your heart, your highest excitement for that day. And it might be to start a podcast. You might have already done this, I have a feeling. And it might be to start a podcast and to interview people and to do something. And that ends up being your highest excitement. So you enjoy it, even if somebody doesn't show up for the show, or you run into some challenges with the cords aren't plugged in, or whatever the thing is.
Oh, yeah.
And it's not a big deal for you because you enjoy it anyway.
Yeah.
Right? And now you're in a higher vibration. And so you're starting to attract to yourself things that match this higher vibration that you're in and you're giving out.
Mm-hmm.
Versus sitting down here being bummed out that you didn't get the extra car or the extra nice thing, or you got to have more money to be happy, or that big house on the beach to make yourself happy, you know? But the thing is, when you get that house on the beach, it's not going to make you happy for that long. We can all find people that had a lot of money. Anthony Bourdain had a lot of followers, had a lot of money, and was the loneliest person on the planet.
Yeah.
It just goes to show it's not an outside job, it's an inside job.
Yeah.
That's the answer I have for you. It's we've got to raise our vibrations through what we give our attention to, how we show up in our communities, how we serve, not in servitude, but in like, hey man, you need some help with something? Sure, let me help you out. I know this, let me help you out with that. You know, like, don't even worry about it. I don't need dollars for it. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah. So from your perspective, you're saying the way that you look at this change is maybe not less technical, right? But for you, the priority in your mind of why this is helpful is more of like a philosophical change. So you view this overall as like a change in the way that pretty much the world flows, the vibration of the world flows. So if you're working with something like cryptocurrency and blockchain, you believe that it's going to change kind of the vibration of the world, the way people interact with each other, the way people hold money in certain esteem, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, and I can kind of see that because when you look at, I don't know, I guess if you look at like the way that we measure the value of cryptocurrency right now, we do kind of measure it against the dollar, or at least most people do. So you're kind of, a lot of people are looking at it as an investment, right? And like, oh shit, you know, I could get this, or like, oh, it's going up and then I can do that. Like that's kind of, and we were talking about this before the show, is, you know, that's why I've been hesitant to jump into cryptocurrency, because I'm kind of looking at it with that perspective, right? Is you look at it in that comparison of what is this to dollars, and then what are dollars to my mortgage and my monthly payments and my lease and my, you know, like my car and everything, my car insurance, going back to insurance. So it's like, that's kind of that's how I look at it. And I want to start to look at this as a cryptocurrency, as an actual currency. So something that you can then take and start using it to trade with people, to to transfer goods and services without
to
kind of going through the
solve
old way.
problems,
Yeah, to solve
to
problems.
solve, like solve pain points, solve problems. Like, yeah, like, so to what you were saying, the people who get in and they look at the money and they get out here, or and how many dollars is it worth? Those are like, I call them fiat thinkers. Fiat is like the dollar. It's
Yeah.
back, just by our agreement, really, and printed easily. Like, hit the button and there's a trillion more, kind of thing. So they're thinking in terms of fiat, but you don't really want to think that way, because what you want to think about is like the problems that are being solved. So you look at the different projects and what problems are they solving? How do they solve them? What are their plans to solve different problems? Like V-Chain solves supply chain management. The car industry has a shortage in computer chips, so they can't make cars, or food distribution, toilet paper running out when everyone goes out and does that stuff. V-Chain, it's a supply chain management coin that's on the blockchain, solving tons of problems right now. Is it, I don't give investment advice or anything anymore, but is it something worth checking out to see if like you're into that? Yeah, check it out.
V-Chain. Okay, so all right, so Matt, have you ever heard of V-Chain or anything like that?
I don't think I have.
Okay, because my next question for that is like, with something like that, right? All right, so just diving into at least one, like a practical use case of something like V-Chain, right? So if you've got all these supply issues and stuff like that, if you've got V-Chain, which is a blockchain technology, in what ways does that solve problems? So maybe let's look at some of the concrete examples of how these technologies can solve problems, and then maybe we can look at it from a bigger scope from there, and start to understand it that way. So like what's an example of like a problem that V-Chain solves, and what is the mechanism for that?
So like we could have a 20-hour talk about V-Chain probably.
But even just from like in the 30,000-foot view of what the issue is and how it solves it.
So everybody could go out to this site. It's called coinmarketcap.com. coinmarketcap.com.
Okay.
And it'll show them the cryptocurrencies by market cap. And market cap kind of matters in crypto a lot, because it's sort of like, well, how much, if you think of money as like a way to agree upon how valuable something is, how much it matters to you, then the top coins that have the most money flow into them, there's an agreement to how much it matters. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, so if you pull up this website, CoinMarketCap, the first one's going to be Bitcoin. It's the biggest one. Then there's Ethereum, Binance Coin, Tether, Solana, Cardano, XRP, Polkadot, Avalanche. Keeps going. And then somewhere down here is going to be V-Chain. So I'm just showing you guys how you can learn about these different projects that are going on. So number 32 is V-Chain. You click on it, and it takes you to like the price. So like this thing's trading at 8 cents right now for one of these tokens. And it also takes you to where you can check out the website. In this case, it'd be vchain.org or vchain.com. So you can do that, and you can go look at what the website says. And then there's another point on here where you can go look at the white paper. And the white paper is like the document that talks about what it is they're doing on a technical level, and usually gives you a summary of what they're doing on a less technical level too. But it gets into the use cases and
okay, got it. Okay, so if you go to this website, so basically, and we'll link to this in the show notes for people, but basically what you're saying is you can go to these sites, you can see how these things are trading, and then you can actually go in, look at the white paper, which is basically the explanation for like the reason why this exists, and then that will kind of give you some real world use cases of what they're solving, and then from there you can kind of figure out, okay, does this value actually make sense? And then if
align with your values. Do you agree to this?
Okay.
Remember, we were talking about not
Yeah.
agreeing to something else anymore. So withdrawing our attention, our energy, withdrawing it from over here and putting it over here to something we agree with.
Yeah. Yeah.
And now you'll be part of a community of people that agree to that. So that's going to be cool because you're going to start attracting to yourself all these new people, these people that are thinking like you are.
I see. I see
That's
what you're saying.
fantastic.
Okay.
And we create the new earth that way.
So, I get, everything has a purpose and a value in, that top list. So when you talk about like things like Bitcoin or the VeChain and those, we know that they have a use. But what about these, like the Dogecoin, the Shiba Inu, like stuff like that? Is there use to that, or is it just hype? Is that?
So they're known as hype coins, meme coins.
Yeah.
But it's kind of interesting. Like Elon Musk, I'm not sure what planet he's from. But I enjoy a lot of the things that he says because a lot of times they're very illuminating.
Yeah.
So Dogecoin, he says, was started as a joke. He's a major influencer in the world. I don't know if he's I think he's the richest man in the world right now, 300 billion or something like that. So what has he done? He's figured out how to hack the quantum field where money's not an object to him.
That does actually that is like probably the most accurate description I've seen. It's like it's not an object.
Yeah, he does not care. I think he has other
Yeah,
things on his
and
agenda.
to get there, you don't always get the road there for him. He went through court stuff. He went through making a lot of money from PayPal, investing it all in his companies, and then asking other people for money to live off of while he had it in his companies, and then almost going bankrupt. And so he's ridden this roller coaster, which I did this a little bit with my wealth management firm and the hedge fund. And the hedge fund ended up getting shut down by the regulators. And here's what I learned. Okay. And this is not going to be like a technical thing. This is more philosophical, but this is what I learned. How you feel matters a lot, because when you feel sort of like down in the dumps or in fear or in depression or anger, then that vibration goes out into all the stuff that the ether. We can't see 95% of what's going on here. We just see that, some of this stuff, and it brings things back to you that match how you feel.
Yep.
And if you do what I said, which is wake up in the morning, do a little meditation, then follow your highest excitement, and then you do that every day for the next 30 days until you can do that longer in the day, all day long, you're following your highest excitement. I'm doing this right now because I choose to be here because I'm totally excited about being here.
Hell yeah. Well, we're glad you're here. We're excited for you to be here too. And
Thank
you too,
you.
Brett. Wait, Brett, what were you going to say? You were about to say something before.
Maybe some context to help understand like the everyday business owners, the everyday consumers.
Yeah.
Is the thing about a business, they accept a credit card, right? So now your credit card, that monetary value goes into an exchange network, like processing gateways and
Okay.
like authorize, and hits certain banks, and that kind of correlates to where Neil talks about goes through like 10 different entities before it goes back to you.
Yep.
Well, what happens when the credit card, the middleman, is gone? What happens when I can send you on the blockchain a transaction right to you with no intermediary? And that's what blockchain Field Force Systems takes cryptocurrency like Bitcoin, Ethereum. There's no bank between us and them.
Yeah.
It's a peer-to-peer based monetary system.
Okay.
So like gold, you hear people investing in storing their wealth in precious metals, gold, silver. Cryptocurrencies, the decentralized currencies it's exactly that. The problem is you can't walk into Publix and pay for your groceries with a brick of gold.
Sure. Sure.
Cryptocurrency, while it's a store of wealth, a way to make money in a everyday currency, you can transact with it. Everything that we know as a society has been manipulated and regulated, and ultimately, so the central banks, it's a central authority.
Yep.
So you got one dude that's seeing, 60 zeros in front of his screen, and it breeds a lot of problems that we're seeing today.
Okay.
So cryptocurrency, when no one owns it, when not one mankind is saying what something is worth, but the market is operating on its own merit, its own value. It's independent from any subconscious, from there's something that Dave from X22 Report says in some of his podcasts is, if I take half a penny from every single person every single day, multiplied by the people that have checking accounts, you would never notice a half a penny gone in your account.
But if you have millions of people that you're
Right.
doing this across, then over time that's going to add up.
Yes.
It's like Office Space? Isn't that what they do in Office Space? Isn't that the grand scheme that he has, and then the building gets burned down?
Yeah.
It's because they're stealing fractions of pennies or something.
Yeah.
So basically, what you're saying is that our federal government is doing the Office Space scheme
Yes.
to us. Okay.
Yes.
It's bigger than the Office Space scheme.
Right. It's so deep and so corrupt and so broken. You take the first Revolutionary
Pull
War.
this up.
You take the first Revolutionary War that this country faced. Take the context, the weight, the importance, the meaning. Take all of that and apply it to our existing financial system.
Yeah.
We are breaking away from the people that told you have to go accrue $500,000 in college tuition to get a $35 an hour job.
You don't wait. So you're on record saying you don't think that's a good idea.
Absolutely not. I think it's the most dumbest thing you can do.
College was fun, guys. I really appreciated college.
The drinking parties are fun, but what the heck? You can go do that for $30 for the night.
For sure.
You don't need to spend $500,000 to get drunk.
Yeah. No, I know what you mean, and it's and that's kind of one of those things that opened my eyes to some of the corruption that's going on. I think we may have talked about this last time, but there's a company that I worked for that was basically selling education leads to these colleges. Long story short, I did some research. They were opening a new division of the company. I was like, oh, this will be great. You can help people, blah, blah, blah.
Mm-hmm.
And then I looked at it, and it's all funnels to this company called Nelnet. And it's like a multi-billion-dollar industry that funnels students into getting, federal student loans, which is the only type of debt that you can't
Right.
file bankruptcy on. So
Right.
there's literally billion-dollar industries that are pyramids that are funnels to get people in the
What do you
closest
think
thing
the
we
stock
had.
market is? The stock market's the same thing.
What do you mean?
Well, when the Fed hits the button to create more money, a few $1 trillion now, that money then gets sent over to wirehouses, Merrill Lynch, Edward Jones, Bank of America. Well, I guess they're the same now. Wirehouses. Warren Buffett used to be in the link with when it would get sent over, and he would tell them what to invest in. They get told what to invest in. Therefore, what's going to go up in value. So you could have all your money in the thing that that the button that does this goes into that. And then you have centralized media outlets and influencers like Warren Buffett to tell everybody what to go buy. It's the biggest freaking joke I've ever heard of.
Okay.
It's,
Plus, you're agreeing to separation and a huge inequality because only 10% of people were putting money away in their retirement plans, invested in stocks and stuff. The other 90% of the world has been left out of the loop. Now with crypto, 100% of the world can put 10% of their earnings into whatever cryptos they agree to and all reap the benefits in the future.
it's almost like there's all these, for lack of a better term, all these unnecessary middlemen that have squeezed
1,000%.
that have squeezed their way
1,000%.
into these different avenues of business, and all they want to do is skim money off the top or make interest off of your money that you need to give to somebody else, or this, that, the other thing. And then, like, kind of to your point, Neil, what I'm taking away from all this is that those people that are doing that are living at those lower vibrations and not really putting any value to our society. Like, imagine if everyone had some kind of passion to put towards, I guess, some kind of utility to something, how great things would be and how quick just this crypto thing would take off.
Something I want that fascinates me in the sense of the system that has already failed in 2008. So, like I'm getting new tires for my truck, okay? So I'm online shopping, and I see these $800 in tires that I can finance for $14 a month. Like, you can finance a freaking Kit Kat, for God's sake. Like,
yeah,
you can finance a $13 tie. Everything is just built on debt. And like, when the system crashed back then, like, all of a sudden you could finance anything you could buy, because of all the interest. Like, so, back in 2008, we just kicked the can down the road and started allowing you to, finance anything and everything you could dream of through these third-party banks that you've never even heard of.
What do you think the wars were created for?
Right.
You spend money, you create prosperity. and like I said, we're all living it. We're all living the beautiful, abundant lives that we got gifted through this system that we're in. But to what Matt was just saying is, I really liked your point. It's like, those people, though, are doing the best they can. I was a financial advisor. I didn't realize those people mean to help people. Most financial advisors mean to help people. Most insurance people think they're doing them a favor. They don't realize that karmically they're kind of like betting against themselves and stuff like that. But they're meaning, I think they did the best they could from their level of consciousness that they were at.
for sure.
But now we're just more awake than that.
Yeah.
And you guys are the future, because you don't have that much invested in the old system, even in the crypto system, right? So you don't care if that stuff falls apart tonight. You'll just pick up the ball and go about building what you want, what your highest excitement is.
Yeah. So with this, right? So that's where, I don't know if you're here too, but that's where I'm at is I feel like I'm standing on the precipice of something that, one, I don't understand, but two, that it's like, not that I'm in on a burning boat and looking at the water, but in a way it kind of feels like that. And it's like, look, it doesn't seem like the old system, as you say. In my mind, it's the existing system because that's all I know. But it's like, what am I jumping off this boat into? And I'm trying to look like, okay, I just talked to somebody the other day who's making these, they're minting coins, and it's like about random shit that it's like they're minting meme coins, and that's going to go up, and you can make a couple $100,000. And I'm like, okay, that looks like a crocodile's mouth. I'm looking at this. This thing is going up and down. That looks like a school of piranhas. Let me find I'm trying to find the next boat to jump to.
Yeah.
So I don't even know what the right question is there. So how Brett, how do you look at this stuff as like, okay, the next platform that I jump to?
Honestly, I
just pull that up.
Again, Neil started a lot of my head scratching. So in large part, this is on him.
You're Brett's Morpheus.
You guys can just call me Neo.
I like it.
When I first bought, I was skeptical. I bought $20. Like, whatever, $20 is a coffee. You lose a coffee, who gives a shit? Then that 20 went to 60, and it went to 80, and it went to 190, and it just kept going up.
Yeah.
And you have to go through some uncomfortable experiences to really learn how beautiful this new financial system is. I just switched phone carriers a few weeks ago, and I called him immediately, like, "Oh shit, Neil," because so on the blockchain, you have different mnemonic code phrases, and they're all in sequential. Like, it'd be like cup, door, sky, yellow, whatever. Like,
Sure.
so, I was moving my wallet over to my other phone because the apps on the phone, it's kind of like the host, kind of like the Outlook. Like, if you didn't have Outlook, all you would see is just code. So similar to how Outlook transcribes that code into message.
Okay.
We use SafePal. So SafePal is, it's all on the blockchain. You have a bunch of code. SafePal, as a decentralized wallet, translates that code into something that's legible and something you can read and appreciate.
Okay.
So when I had moved my wallet over to my new phone, the money that I saw on my old phone immediately disappeared because the app was gone. However, when I re-downloaded everything and recovered my wallet, within seconds, I could see all the money I have in blockchain right in my wallet.
Okay.
It was just it. So I guess when your heart is beating 100, when your heart is like, oh shit, what just happened?
Did I just delete all my money?
Yeah. It's those uncomfortable experiences that you have to push yourself through to realize how beautiful that this new financial system really is. It's so, you get these, like my assistant, I have an office in the Philippines. My assistant's in the Philippines. Over there, they have, $400 US here is like 20,000 pesos over there. So you have to have a minimum of 20,000 pesos throughout every given month to have an active checking account. So
that's how it works in the Philippines with their banking system.
Right. They have another world bank, just like we have the private Western Central Bank. Like there's the IMFs, Neil, I think there's a third one, Neil. There's like 3 world banks. But so in crypto, you are your own bank. So you get rid of all the regulation, all the monthly maintenance fees, all the the minimum balances and the overdrafts. Like you remove that entire component. So, you get, we've heard these cases of like, bringing internet to the globe so everyone can be connected online, right?
Yep.
Well, crypto, you don't need to have a physical mailing address to mail your debit card to, or some, postal address to have an active account.
Okay.
You can have a wallet, be anywhere in the world, and transact with everyone else. It's
so basically it's open in the sense that you don't have to have a physical location to have something tied to identify like where
It's
you're
borderless. Yeah.
Okay.
What you're saying, it's borderless. It's resistant to censorship. They can't just kick you off the system and tell you can't use it today.
Yeah.
However, that's only some cryptos. There are other cryptos that look like that, but they're going to have borders on them. They are going to be censored. They're going to be, they call them central bank digital currencies.
Well, and that's
you're going to make.
And that's what. Sorry to interrupt you. And that's what we were talking about before with Ripple and XRP of what you think's going to happen to them is it's going to get regulated by the SEC and then ultimately end up being the vehicle for the USDC or US dollar coin, something along those lines.
Are they still under the whole investigation type deal?
Government has everything to lose by us bypassing them, and that's what decentralization does. Like, you can't drive over a rotary in the road, right? You go around it. So when government doesn't want to get out of the way, you go around them. And decentralized currency is that road to go around them.
Yeah.
It's, what I consider an endorsement is Hillary Clinton saying that it's a threat to the U.S. banking system. the head of the SEC saying it's a threat to the economic system. Jamie Morgan coming out and saying, "Oh, we're going to regulate Bitcoin into the ground." When because remember, these are fiat elites that have siphoned trillions of dollars from us. So you have to work harder. You have to have a better job. You have to invest. You have to work. It's always you. Like, so in the stock market, you get a measly, 6% return on stocks? What the hell is that? You take crypto. Well, what happens when you get a 45% return? Because there's no middleman, there's no intermediary saying what the market is worth and setting the value, and we're in a fork in the road where the world is breaking away from the system because everyone's tired of the system.
Yeah,
they always take, right? They never reduce taxes unless you get someone who knows how to run a business.
Yeah.
So the tax component, I mean, one of my buddies that runs a local networking group, it's Warm Networking Introductions, run by Shane Bailey. Here two guys hang out in Naples. He sent me a TikTok video about this guy that's talking about, how the government is working on something right now to forgive all your debt, reimburse you all the interest you've ever paid on a loan. They're creating this loan forgiveness and this debt forgiveness, but in exchange of that, you're going to hand them over the keys to your bank account where they'll have another layer of control. And
that's scary.
Everything.
Right?
Yeah, it's, everything.
Only if you say so. It's only
Right.
scary if you say so.
I guess, yeah.
You could say, that's one version of reality that some people will live. But
Well-
I'm not going to look at that. I'm going to go over here and create this other version that I like.
So Neil, that's what I'm talking about with this stuff of why I feel like I'm on this burning boat and looking where I'm going to jump. I see these future versions of where we can go, and I'm just trying to listen to where people like you guys are saying the shit's going, because it's like you see these things happening, and I think by us having these conversations and us actually talking about it and doing something about it, like moving the future in a different direction, like we actually can do something. It's not hopeless, but like I don't want to be a part of this same thing. It seems like it's driving into the ground, and it seems like we have so much prosperity as a country. Like there really is no other country like the US that can do all the things that we've done in the past, and it seems we're just like we're moving away from all of the things that made us prosperous, even though on the other hand, like you're saying, Neil, it's like we're becoming more awake, I think, than ever before. Not wokeness, but like literal wokeness. I think people are more
aware.
Yeah, I think people are more aware. I think people are more accepting of other people than ever before, and that's like all positive. But it seems like there is a push to make regular people kind of into debt, into this constant cycle of never catching up. And it seems like more and more people are finding themselves in that spot. I don't want to be a part of that. I don't want my kids to be a part of that. I don't want regular people to be a part of that. And I want to find a better way.
You're not in agreement with that
anymore. I'm definitely not in agreement with it.
And can you see how 5 years ago you were?
Yeah, I think because I didn't know.
So you helped create it.
Interesting.
Yeah. And now that you're more aware, you can stop creating it for yourself and for others.
Yeah, I guess it is kind of like, it kind of comes back to the meditation piece, is like if you act like a dickhead all the time and then you finally realize that, like, oh, I've been kind of being a dick lately. You're like, maybe I should stop doing that. And then you can actually change it, but you don't know until you see it.
We like to blame people. It was their fault. It was that guy. We like to find problems out there in the world where things, I can't believe they did that. But really, what we got to do is we got to take this finger that's pointing outwards, and we got to turn it around and start pointing backwards to ourselves, and being honest with ourselves and having an encounter with ourselves. What am I really doing with my energy? What am I creating with it?
Yeah.
Not to make you wrong. It's not about that. You can't get this wrong. But what kind of experience do you want to have for you and for your kids and all that stuff? And then how can I use my energy today or right now to create some of that?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's the goal with all of this is learning how we can move ahead with some of this stuff.
We're not going to find, government is not going to tell us the alternative to remove them. So
Yeah.
it starts with conversations like this where, getting back to more self-governance and getting more talking in your community and helping other people understand things that they might not otherwise.
Yeah.
It starts here.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree that these are the ways that we do it, as asking these questions, So Matt, what I've been asking all the questions. What questions do you got?
I don't know if I have as many questions. I honestly, I'm inspired by all this, and it took a direction that I wasn't expecting. So I don't really know if these questions are really pertinent to what.
Listen, the dumbest question is the question I'd ask, so just ask.
So, I guess when we're looking at this stuff, and obviously this is going in this direction. We all agree that, Bitcoin or whatever coins are going to be, our exchange of currency.
Mm-hmm.
When you get paid on something, so say, and I know that people already can get paid in Bitcoin, right, from their place of work. So I guess, how does this work in the sense that when I get my paycheck and I decide, hey, I'm going to have a part of it paid in Bitcoin, is it wise to do this at this point with the volatility of Bitcoin in that way?
I would like to point out that, so the stock market goes up and down.
Yeah.
Crypto goes up and down. And as I have this conversation almost daily, is that when this glass once cost $2 and now it costs $22, you're not seeing the plus and minus of every single US dollar in your checking account go up and down. But when the market tanks and it goes from $2 to $22, it's an illusion that your money is safe. Your money is there. You can go put your hands on it. It's an illusion. So when you're talking about, crypto's volatile, how is that any different from the stock market that just crashed over 1,000 points?
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know?
And I guess, too, with just inflation, too, with
Right.
the cost of the dollar
In
decreasing dramatically.
in cryptocurrency, it's much harder to create inflation because you can't just go to your printer in your living room and go print US money. Like, it has to be created. You can't be like, hey, you know what? I think there should be $500,000 more dollars that exist today. So I'm just going to go do that.
Yeah.
Like, that doesn't happen.
No.
So it makes it much more difficult.
But it kind of did with, yeah.
You want some cause? You want some hookers?
Yeah, exactly.
Neil, what were you gonna say?
Well, like he was talking about the dollar. So like, actually, if everybody went to the bank today to pull out all their money, that money's not actually in your name. It's in the name of the bank. We have what we call a fractional reserve system. So for every $1,000 you have in the bank, if everybody went to the bank today, you'd get roughly $8 to $12 of your money out. So it is an illusion, like you said. It's a belief system
Yeah.
that we've created. And it doesn't make it right or wrong. You're probably not going to convince your mom and dad about it. And it's not your job to do that. It's your job to just say, look, I know better now. I don't create this anymore. I'm going to create something over here. And you know what? Bitcoin's not perfect. That one does have a fixed supply where you can't create inflation. Ethereum, they can print more of it when they want to for development reasons. I think they vote on it and then they do it. So like every crypto is a little different from that perspective, but you can just know that when you're living out of this heart frequency, you ever hear that song? It's like, everything I have, everything I need, I already have. Anything I need, I already have. Like, in other words, like, maybe you don't need 10 million bucks in your bank account to feel good. Maybe we are like a little more evolved in that. Like, think of aliens, for example. Do you think they go to their job and clean the floors and do that shit? No. They got like nanotechnology running around and stuff like that. So
iRobot.
yeah, so they can more instantly manifest. Well, perhaps if we all raise our vibrations to this like love frequency that I'm talking about, which I know sounds a little esoteric, well, it's love, man, peace, go with the wind. But perhaps when we're working together, we learn that when I help you, I actually feel really, really good, and better than I could even, that I think something from the outside would make me feel. The next iPhone, for example. And so maybe I don't actually need that phone. If I do, though, because I need it to like video or whatever, it'll come to me. Maybe I don't need everything to come to me through the way that I've been taught things can come to me. Maybe money is just one type of abundance. And there's all these, I can have something to trade. I could have something given to me, a gift. There's other ways to move in the world where I'm feeling lighter. Kind of like I don't like really, I do this though, I bring up Jesus Christ. I'm not religious. JC, he was a guy with a lot of followers. All right. When you went to him, he just saw the best in you. He didn't see that you were blind or you only had one leg or whatever. He saw you as healed and perfect the way that you are. And I think that as we get more that way and we start seeing, because we feel so good inside, I also think JC did a lot of mushrooms, by the way. When we feel good inside, then we see everybody else as well. I don't see your stories about the negative stuff. I see you as a powerful creator. I see the God presence in you. So there's nothing wrong. When I look out here into the world anymore, I don't see problems anywhere. I see everybody waking up at their own pace. Think about it. Like, when I used to drink, I would get sometimes into drama at the end of the night, right? I look now back on those experiences as beautiful. I'm so thankful for them.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have had them had I not been in that state of mind at that time. If I was just like goody my whole life, I would have missed out on a whole bunch of fun that I had. You know what I mean? But now I'm at a different level where that's not really fun for me anymore. I'd rather have an effect on the people around me that I'm more conscious about and more of an uplifter, that kind of stuff. But I'm thankful for that time. I wouldn't trade it for the world.
Yeah.
So maybe that's how the world is. Like, everybody's exactly where they're meant to be right now. Maybe there's not like boats burning as much as like, okay, so there are boats burning, there's some things are crumbling, but as quick as those things are burning, there's buildings going up and there's new boats and there's spaceships coming in and stuff like that. Like,
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and that's what I'm like. I'm hopeful for this stuff, and that's why I'm looking for the path forward rather than just, well, everything's fucked, so fuck it. I'm looking for that path forward.
Everything.
What do you got?
It's not so. Every experience brings you into a new one, right? And you learn from yesterday to do better for tomorrow.
Yep.
So, like, we've identified that the system that's been in existence since 1913, the central banks, isn't a system that serves our best interest. So, the answer might not be Bitcoin.
Sure.
It might not be Dogecoin.
Sure.
But what we do know is here to stay and is not going anywhere, despite the fiat elite's desires, is that decentralization. We're not backtracking.
Yeah.
We're not going back to the old ways. We're going to a new way that serves us and not a select few.
So I know that we seem like we're going that direction, and then you look around the world, it seems like some of these other places are going the opposite direction. Like China outlawed it. I think, did India outlaw crypto? Or
so China banned it like 4 times, and every time they did, it shot up afterwards. It's a world thing. It's like a universal thing. It's not just like a country by country. But what I'll say is this: we're all living in our own dimension. You're living in your dimension. I'm living in my world. Brett's living in his world. Matt's living in his world. Like, what comes through our minds? People in China, they're living in a billion different dimensions. Just because you can see them doesn't mean it has any effect on your world.
Yeah.
So we're all here for like an experience. And none of the experiences are right or wrong, even on the extreme of like, I mean, it's controversial, like a Hitler type person, but you actually can't say he was right or wrong because you have no idea what his experience was.
Yeah.
You can say what he did you didn't like and all that stuff, and that's fine. I support that statement, but you can't say that he was right or wrong. Like Rumi has this thing, he says, there's a field beyond right or wrong, and I'll meet you there someday. So then you stop worrying about what other people are doing, what they're thinking, what they're saying, what they think about you. They're not even thinking about you. Everyone's pretty much thinking about what's going on with them. And then you just focus on what you want to create in the world through your heart frequency, through your highest excitement.
Yeah. So, and so with that said, right? So it seems like, so China bans it, or they try to ban it, and it goes even higher and it keeps moving. So it seems like if you're looking at the overall frequency of the world, right, this is something that people seem to be moving towards, looking at it through that lens. So if you're here, right, and you've got, this is where people want to go, bringing it back to the day-to-day, the way that people can think about it, who are somewhere in this spectrum of trying to make this jump from the old boat to the spaceship or whatever the hell they're jumping to. Where do you guys see this technology coming into play with day-to-day stuff, like buying things, going to the store, buying stuff at the grocery store, paying for larger things like cars, like something that you would traditionally finance, something along those lines, or even houses and mortgages and things like that? Where do you guys see this kind of stuff coming into play?
Most people,
yeah,
sorry,
yeah, go ahead.
Most people aren't gonna know the difference. Most people, it's going to be a shift behind like the fabric of the things that they deal with, and they'll have another card and it'll use XRP or whatever the next thing is. They're not playing with like molding the clay with it. They're just they're creators by default. What you stick in front of their face is what they pay attention to, which is what they create in their world. Most people are going to do that. That's why I'm telling you guys, the only way through this sort of like eye of the needle that we're going through right now is for you to start following your heart frequency and be a creator, a powerful creator that you came here to be. Most people are just asleep and focusing on whatever's in front of their face. Masks, people dying, get vaccines, all that BS. I mean.
Yeah. Yeah, agreed. So, all right. So then what you're saying is, all right, Brett, you got to look on. You got to look in your eyes. Let's go. Let's go. What do you got?
So, there's a lot of misconception being put out by government. The people who are at a disadvantage of us using decentralized currencies. Like Tesla. I think everyone knows Tesla accepts Bitcoin for payment for their vehicles.
Yep.
There's over 18,000 businesses in the United States that accept cryptocurrencies. Like anything else, they try to create a two-tier system, a system for you, a system for them. So, the cryptocurrencies, like the real estate deal recently, it was like $3.5 million.
In Decentraland, you're talking about?
Yeah, in Bitcoin.
Okay.
Because Bitcoin is a decentralized currency. So in Bitcoin, there's a transaction that.
Oh, okay. So there was a $3.5 million
real estate deal. In Bitcoin.
They used it in Bitcoin, but in real life.
Yes.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah, this is
Got
a
it.
movie.
No, I remember there was something for $2.5 million from somebody buying something in Decentraland.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sotheby's.
Yep.
Yeah.
So anyway, okay. So this is a real world purchase of a physical home.
Yes.
Using Bitcoin. Okay. Sorry to interrupt. Go ahead.
So, government's always taking, right? So, you sell and you use a currency that's outside the government. And I'm very anti-government. I'm just gonna lay that out there.
Wait,
I don't.
are
hide
you
that shit at
you're
all.
anti-government?
Yeah, I'm.
My
like,
fucking mind is blown right now. I did not.
I know you
expect
never
to
saw
say-
that coming, but I don't need government to tell me how to put my shoes on.
Yeah.
So,
So the government's typically involved with a transaction like that. You have to pay taxes, fees, things like that.
Gains tax. Well, you don't pay that in decentralized currency because they can't attach to decentralized currency. And I guess I'm not supporting tax evasion, but it pretty much is what it is.
Well,
it's
the more I learn about some of this stuff, like that guy, the rich dad poor dad guy.
Mhm.
Like I was listening to some of his stuff, and he's like, "No, I don't want to pay any taxes. I don't want to give my money to Marxists to tell me to do all this stuff." He's like, "I just take on this debt. And then I balance it out so I don't have like income or it doesn't show revenue, and you just balance it out, and I do all these other things." And I was like, that's a good idea. Like, I don't want to pay these people either. Like, I would rather like do all that and then give my money in like a way that I could see fit. I don't know that most people think like that though, which is the only reason why I don't know if that thinking works at scale, but that's kind of how I feel about it. Oh, what are you goddamn government in my pocket?
Dude, well, sorry to interrupt your.
My
It almost seems like this whole crypto deal too is going towards what America was founded on.
God, yes.
On the values of, hey, we don't want governance as like we don't want you to guide us. We need like a support crew.
Right.
You know what I mean? Behind the decisions that we the people feel are the best decisions for the majority of the people, which is amazing.
So
I feel that way too. That's what is giving me hope about some of this stuff.
Yeah.
You know?
So the point of we're the only country on earth that has a founding document that tells government this is how far you can go and this is it. Okay?
Yeah.
The founding fathers never wanted a central bank because they knew the bullshit that was coming with it, i.e. what we're living in today, like $84 million for frickin' Egypt for gender studies.
Yeah.
Because it's all, it's taxation without representation, right? So like they're hiding behind our political offices as like they're doing good for us when they're just stealing money from us because they're so fucking corrupt. Sorry,
Yeah.
And you agree to it when you sign your tax return with your free will.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, good point. And it feels like and that's part of this stuff too, is it feels like an overwhelming force. Like it's like until recently, it's like I would have never thought to like not do that with my taxes and go through the standard.
Because you're scared, right? You're a little scared. And that's okay.
What you say to me? No, but yeah, no, it is that. Like you hear all the time about, it's like, oh, so-and-so had tax evasion, or Wesley Snipes went to jail for something like that with tax evasion. Like you always hear those kinds of stories.
Forget evasion. Like Donald Trump, I loved it when it came out on TV. Hate the guy or love the guy, it doesn't matter. They were like, you won't release your tax return, or we looked at your tax returns and we saw you didn't pay any taxes when the rest of and he goes, 'cause I'm smart.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's like just readjusting your perspective a little bit to go like Rich Dad Poor Dad, Robert Kiyosaki. He has the 4 categories. What are you? An employee, a small business owner, an investor, like a professional investor, or a large business owner? Well, here are the tax brackets for all those things, like the Clintons and stuff. They were small business owners because they were lawyers and paid probably like 90% in taxes, and whereas the professional investors pay 0 and until you sell stuff sometimes, and then big business also has a low tax rate. So, and what do they do with the taxes? It's like prisoners of war. There's billions of dollars that go missing all the time. It's like, who knows what they do? But now that you're not in agreement with it.
Yeah.
Now it's like time to look and shift. Like, what other things can I engage in that go in another direction other than this direction. Because even when in this universe, when you look at something and you're like, oh, that scares me, you give it energy.
Yeah.
And when you look at it, you're like, yes, I love this. You give it energy. But if you can just start to be calmer, which is why I'm a big proponent of meditation, you no longer give your energy to stuff. You just are like cool in the gang. Things come, they exist for a while, they go, and you decide to dance with what you want to dance with. And if you don't want to dance with taxes anymore, you let that go. I'm not suggesting, well, I'm not even going to disclaim it. I'm suggesting you take your attention out of the taxes and you put it into what you're excited to create. And if you create something, it creates a bunch of dollars for you and you have to pay some taxes on it, that's okay. If that's kind of like the momentum, going with the flow, the path of least resistance, pay some taxes on it and move on with your life. Do something, create something else, or maybe at that moment you'll be able to create a foundation for something that you won't have to give the money to the IRS. Instead, you can give it to like sick kids in Africa or whatever it is.
Yeah, and do something actually direct where you control that impact that you're having. That's what I'm talking about. That's what like excites me about some of this stuff is like you and plus, all right, so I'm kind of taking us off to a different place, but thinking with that like fear mindset, right? Or the limitations or thinking out of it like with a lack, right? So if I give X amount of my money in taxes, now I'm thinking like, okay, well, I already gave that, so like I don't really want to go give more. Like, yeah, sure, I do want to help X person or I want to make X better, but like I already gave that. So like nah. I'm just gonna kind of stay home.
Keeps you in a lack mentality.
Yeah.
So as you dance with taxes, you stay in more lack. Why do you think gas prices are on every corner? Is it $3.50 today? Is it $3.30? You file that with who cares, because
yeah.
20 cents in a gallon or whatever doesn't matter to you, but it does matter to you because you see that stuff everywhere.
Yeah.
Like we got to become more conscious with what we focus on now. And I don't want to say it's a battle, but it
is a battle.
It's an exercise in discipline. What you practice focusing on, get thankful. I wake up in the morning, I'm thankful that I have eyes, that I can see the colors of the world. I'm thankful that my nose works and the air goes in and my lungs work. I'm thankful for my feet and my legs, And when I'm thankful, I feel good. So I know I'm attracting good things to myself just naturally, right? And the price I had to pay is feeling good. I'm nice to everyone around me, so I'm putting out things and I'm giving more. As things come to me, I'm not looking at them like from my negative belief system, which is humans, we tend to do that. We tend to be like, no, that's messed up, Maybe good things are coming to us all the time, but we got like our umbrella up that's shielding all this good stuff from coming to us. I mean, I'm telling you guys, and I know I've said it a bunch of times, and I know people skip around in these maybe, so I'm just going to say it again. Meditation, following your highest excitement, and all this other stuff will take care of itself. Bitcoin, crypto, Dogecoins, Ethereums, dollars, yen, pesos, it won't matter to you because you'll feel so good, and you'll always have what you need when you need it.
So it's about, you got to set that foundation. It's basically your side of things is, look, I've been around the block. I know all this stuff. You can dive into it, but from the fundamental level, when you're approaching this stuff, it's not all about learning the in-depth technical thing. What is going to be the next biggest thing, XYZ? It's more about figure yourself out and then approach this stuff. So, okay. Got it. And Brett, you got something to add here.
So, a couple Q&As and something that I think that everyone's probably heard at this point is that how government's going to try to step in. And
they already are. I got an email from the people that we're going to do our taxes with this year, and it's like it was like basically a warning about crypto, as if you have any crypto transactions, like each thing is going to be each thing is going to be its own individual like line item, whereas like maybe your entire house payment for the whole year is one line item, where if you bought a cup of coffee with crypto, that would be like the equivalent of one line item. So it's like that when you start to wake up to these kinds of things and you start seeing these things that the IRS rolls out and then pushes out to all the the professionals, then you start going like, oh, all right, I kind of see what's going on here.
Is the one line item deal to make people more conscious about, maybe trying to make people scared about, oh, I shouldn't be messing with crypto because now they're looking at every individual transaction? And
no, it's like, I think it's like a bludgeon over the head of, we're going to like paperwork you to death. It's basically like, hey, would you I know you want to do this thing, but we're going to have you fill out like, oh, I want to go to like something enjoyable. Like I want to go to the movies, but we're going to have you fill out like 20 pieces of paperwork to go to the movies. You'd be like, well, I guess I'm just going to wait till it comes out on Netflix or something.
So when I say government can kiss my ass, Neil is saying focus your energy on something positive.
Yeah.
No, that's why. This is why I like talking. I'm enjoying talking to both of you, because it sounds like you're saying the same thing from two different perspectives, and I think we need both perspectives, because there's going to be the pessimists, there's going to be the optimists, there's going to be people that are somewhere in the middle, but like I am appreciating the philosophical and the practical view of this.
Chris,
Can I give you
go ahead.
Can I share something practical after Brett goes this time?
Yeah.
Something the corrupt government has done to people is convinced that we answer to them, okay?
Yep.
They answer to us. So, you know what? When the IRS is trying to scare people, the government does not have the power. We, the people, do.
Yeah.
We don't. Government can now. Governments are never shutting this down. It's never happening. So when you see Jamie Morgan saying, "Oh, we're going to regulate it into the ground," you dumbass, you can't regulate it into the ground because it's not centrally. It's not a central authority.
But like
So-
what you're saying, Neil, is basically, if you believe that can be done, then you'll let it be done. If you follow that, then
2018, Bitcoin went to 20 grand in like March, from like, I don't know, $300 a year before or less. And then every media outlet that existed at the time, we were a little less aware back then that it was just like people's agendas, and the richest people in the world owned all the media outlets. And it was basically like 5 white guys sitting around a table deciding what they want us to read. But they beat the hell out of it. John Oliver, like all this stuff, the media just beat the heck out of it down to 3 grand, so that the government and Jamie Dimon and all the rest of the people could get miners in place, start mining it. They have a lot of it now, and like you guys said, look, I feel behind the ball on this, right? That's starting to sound a little bit like the old capitalism system, like the dollar, because it's like, well, how do I get into it now? It's already took off back then. And, so it's starting to play this like, well, a little bit lap game thing,
Well, so sorry to interrupt and just keep on that thought, but that's exactly where I'm at, is that thought of, well, I'm behind. What if I get into it now? Well, is it going to go up? Well, did I miss out on that's exactly where I'm at.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you, but I'm pretty optimistic that it's only going to go up.
I am too. It just that doesn't diffuse this kind of conversation more diffuses my feeling of that than like the assuredness that it's going up, because I don't want to look at this as an investment. I want to look at it. I'm trying to look at it from the practical sense of what, working, making sure that I can pay the bills, feed my family, do all that stuff, like looking for that path forward. So sorry to interrupt. Keep going.
No, that's a beautiful point. And so, like, I'm not giving a financial advice, but one way that you can sort of like start to dip your feet in, if you wanted to, and you decided that this was a good move for you, is like $20 here, $50 there, like a little bit every week. Okay, yeah, it was 60 grand. Now it's 49,000 today when we're talking about it.
Yeah.
They could, lots of things could happen. We don't know who some of the whales are. They could pull their money out, and capture all their gains and decide tomorrow the Bitcoin, or we wouldn't call it Bitcoin, Ditcoin is the next thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's agreed upon value, and if everybody who's got the money in there, that $980 billion market cap, you don't think that's probably like 920 billion? That's probably from like the richest people in the world at this moment, probably.
You're saying Bitcoin?
Yeah.
That they own 90% of the.
Well, that is like the smoke screen that's part of the river that I'm looking at. Like, is this does this look like calm water, but it's just a bunch of piranhas underneath?
But could the so the one argument is this: cash used to have roughly a $7 trillion circulation, but they got rid of cash with the pandemic. Why? Because it's anonymous, they can't track it, whatever. So I still like having cash,
Yeah.
But so Bitcoin would be a good replacement for cash. So in that statement, then 7x, you got a 700% return probably if all cash goes into it. Then you look at the gold market. Gold isn't too efficient. If I take a gold bar down to the grocery store when nothing else is working, I need $150 of groceries. Guy's gonna say, "You want to pay with gold?" I'm gonna say, "Yeah." He's like, "Okay, but I don't have any change for it, so I have to give him like a $10,000 gold bar or whatever it is." Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's not super fungible. So they all have problems. So could all that money siphon into Bitcoin? Yeah, sure they could. Could the Feds or the Jamie Dimons of the world, could they drop the price of Bitcoin? Probably, if they wanted to, for a couple years. Yeah. And could a lot of people that get in now, could it go up to 150 grand? Yeah, it could. It could go up there, and then it could come back down to 30, and then it could do all that stuff. But it's like, if you look at it like a binary choice, the old system, do you think it's going to work? Yes or no? Okay. Yes. All right, keep doing what you're doing. No. Okay, what are my options? All right, there's Bitcoin. I'm going to do some research on this Ethereum thing. I like this VK chain stuff, whatever. Like, I agree to these things. I want to create a future that has these things in them because of the problems that they're solving in the world. I mean, somebody recreated the Federal Reserve System in the U.S. Treasury and what they call a DAO, a Decentralized Autonomous Organization. People are making, in that moment, they were making like, I don't know, 8,000% just for putting their money in there a year,
Holy
so,
shit.
And it totally mimicked the old system, but took out the centralized risk. So it's like a case study, I'm not saying like that's where you need to be at. What I'm saying is, but that's what you need to do with your money. I'm just saying, like, start paying attention, putting your energy into these types of projects, and you're going to see solutions for stuff, and you're going to go, whoa, this is cool. I like this. I'm going to get excited about this.
Yeah.
And get excited about it and enjoy it and tell your friends and family about it. And will it be the final iteration? No, maybe there'll be a version 2.0 or a version 3.0, but at least you're excited. You're enjoying the journey. You're, creating something that you care about in your life and for others. And you're probably a happy person. You're probably not scared of anything. Like, when you're out in nature, try and convince me that nature is not abundant. I see like a billion blades of grass, the sun comes up, like birds are singing, trees are out, like,
yeah,
that's an abundant place to be. You can't scare me out there. Well, you can't scare me in here anymore either, because I've done my work. But that's where you guys not gotta get to, but that's where the invitation is. Get to where you're unshakable. They can't shake you because you got a deeper knowing coming through you that they don't have any power over you anymore.
Yeah.
Something I want to point out in decentralized crypto is that, El Salvador bought 500 coins. And I want to say in like the last 6 months. Since that time, they're building 20 new school buildings with the money they have made from it. with accruing zero debt to any bank. You know, the Miami mayor, you know, he wants to pay city employees in Bitcoin, you know, make city services available to be paid for in Bitcoin. You know, DeSantis, love the dude. Fucking awesome guy. He came out and backed the Miami mayor. He also encouraged other counties in the state to start looking at, you know, making cryptocurrencies of whatever coin, whatever currency available in making Florida more crypto friendly. You know, I believe after El Salvador, Japan bought onto it. They started making Bitcoin legal tender. You know, I think recently might have been Russia that has started the conversation. There's a couple country, like, I don't know if it's Ukraine or Britain. That's one. They're introducing legislation to make Bitcoin legal tender. Australia is, I believe, I saw an article. They're introducing a reform bill to move into cryptocurrencies.
Oh, that's cool.
You know, the world so far this year, there's over 300 million people in the world that are using cryptocurrencies, 38 of which are in the United States.
The U.S. is way behind the ball with this. They because they have so much centralization, so much to lose,
and so much invested in the old system.
Yeah, right. But we don't. As youngsters, we don't. Right. So,
Neil, can I be honest? When we first talked on the phone, like the amount of shit that you knew, I was like, I thought you were going to be 60 years old. I'm not kidding. I was like, oh man, this guy knows his shit. He's been around for a while.
That's funny. I used to get that. I think when I used to make a lot of cold calls, it helped me having this voice.
Yeah.
People would be like, oh, all right.
I trust this guy.
Yeah.
I think we all have like different unique talents and roles. And I think one of mine is like being more of a role model, being a risk taker that I am, and to bring it back to share with everybody. Like at first, the awakening is for you. Like you need it for you and the healing that happens. And then you get to a certain point and it's like, I mean, you can sit around feeling good all day, which I could do. I do. I feel great all day.
I love it.
But I want to do what I can do to allow other people to have what I have. You know what I mean? Like, and I didn't get it through the hedge fund that I started. I thought I could only be this happy when I had $10 million, $50 million in the bank, but it's not true.
Yeah.
You can be this happy with $0 in your pocket if you choose to feel good and follow your heart and calm your mind and not be distracted by like the social media and it's easy to tune to these days. We've got so many screens around us. There's fear everywhere. If we want to find it, we can tune to that, but we can also
and even in that thought, right? So when you're saying that DeSantis wants to like back other counties doing this kind of stuff, like one of my first thoughts was like, okay, so where the current things that run on taxes now, if you switch over to crypto or something along those lines, like what do we do to fund those things that are currently supported by taxes now? And then I guess that kind of, from a philosophical perspective, I think maybe it's more you have to find the value in that stuff and then you kind of choose to put your money where you see the value. And then from like a systems perspective, what are you seeing that these governments have done in terms of implementing this stuff as a practical alternative? Because I guess just on the side note, I grew up in New York. The Belt Parkway is still under construction from before when I was born, and it's still under construction now. There's so much corruption that goes into all of this shit. So it's not like the amount of money that they are taking is how much they need. They steal a lot of it. My mom went on the school board. She found $11 million there that, nobody had any idea about. We thought that it made sense that a 400-foot long fence cost $350,000. We just thought that was the price of things. So like, it's a lot of bullshit. But so, where are some of the things that we can repurpose if we were to go to this and find that money, the funding to support this stuff and keep it running?
Well, governments have already established that they can run its infrastructure in the crypto markets. They're like, look at El Salvador, the monumental pushback that they got from, I believe for them is the IMF. If you've ever heard in the cycles, the pushback from the central banks to make Bitcoin legal tender. Well, the banks, like the BlackRocks, the people in the woodwork that you've never heard of, they're the ones with the most to lose, and we're the ones with the most to gain to get out of their debt system.
Yeah.
So imagine people fighting for their lives, fighting for what they consider their livelihoods and how they've made the wealth that they've made. Leeches sucking the life out of us. Well, the tide has turned where we don't need them anymore. They have no value to us. The only value, and to touch on Neil's philosophical point, is they've shown us what we don't need. And byproduct of that is now we know what we do need.
And what is that?
Decentralization. Not having a human mind being the one telling everyone else what something is worth, or how something should be priced, or how something should be regulated. There is no regulation for us.
Move it. Sorry,
we are the power. Us as a society, us as a country, us as we the people, we are the power. They've just done a very good job at convincing us, that we're not. So like, we have a peer-based monetary system now that you and I can pay you, and I can pay you, and everyone can transact in this room without a credit card processor, without a Venmo, without a Cash App, without some third party. We can all transact independently by ourselves, amongst ourselves.
With major dollar amounts, like all those things you mentioned, Venmo and all that stuff, you can do it with a couple $1,000, but it turns out in this day and age, if you want to actually do something, you're going to need a lot more than that. So you want to transfer hundreds of thousands of dollars, you can do that on the Bitcoin network without running into like 17 red flags and having things being held up for 2 years.
Yeah.
So like, you work all week, right? And you do like any business banking you do on the weekend. Well, the banks close at 12. What the hell? Now you can't sleep in. You got to wake up early enough to run your errands and get there before they lock their doors. Well, in crypto, you are the bank.
Yeah.
You're not abiding by anything else or anyone else. You're in control of your money.
It's freedom. And it's so also, to answer your question, Chris, is that we have something called decentralized autonomous organizations. You're going to hear a lot more about them.
The DAOs
next year. Yeah, the DAOs. And so what we could do is, like, let's say, for example, your taxes. The reality is, do your own research and figure out where your tax money goes, because it doesn't go where you think it goes at all. But let's say like you wanted to create a DAO to take care of all the roads. Well, then there would be members of that DAO who would vote on what contractor to hire. If they needed to make a decision, it would go out to all the people that are a member of the DAO, and it would self-fund itself through the cryptocurrency rails instead of the dollar rails. And so it would have less friction in it. So it would be more efficient. And, you wouldn't have like these contractors like the Enrons of the world and the Halliburtons of the world. You wouldn't have that stuff, because that was all behind closed doors stuff that led to that. You wouldn't have that, because it would be a bidding process that would be fair. Eventually, governance and voting will be on the blockchain, so you can't have all the funny stuff that happens with voting these days.
Yeah, agreed. Well, so my question with some of this stuff is, what is to stop those backdoor deals and things like that? Like, how does this actually stop some of that? So let's say like, you didn't have a DAO, right? Or you had a DAO and people kind of just go around it. Like what stops those things from happening with blockchain technology?
Well, you get, you know, if I got on your laptop, I could move files.
Mm-hmm.
I could hide things I don't want you to see. It's still there, but I've deleted it in where you can see it.
Yeah.
Now take the elections. They had 13,000 residents living in a single family home. Okay. You know, they can when things are centralized, it must have been really fucking tight. You know, when things are centralized,
there's a multi-generational family, okay, bro? Many generations.
So when things are centralized and you can control the data and you can control what's seen and you can manipulate what's seen, well, what happens when you don't have a delete button on that computer? What happens when things are forced to be transparent, where they can be verified? Because think about a Ritz cracker, right? So you know you're walking down the hallway, you're crumbling in your hand, you're leaving a crumb trail, right?
Yep.
Well, what if those crumbs could never be swept up? What if there was no way to remove them where you cannot see? Well, that's what the blockchain is, because it's encrypted files. It's digital footprint that cannot be altered.
So
that cannot be deleted.
So in this case, so you have the ledger that this stuff goes to. So you have all these different authentication pieces. So you have the open transactions. You may not be able to see who it is, but you can see what transactions are taking place between what endpoint and what endpoint. So are you saying that right now in the current system, there's ways that you can basically like hide that and make it where like those transactions don't exist in the current system? Like,
yes.
Is that how Halliburton and these different like groups, like what you're talking about, Neil, of like funding wars that never end, like this Orwellian type thing of, you know, just funneling money there, is you can just make money disappear now?
Yeah, this glass, it's a clear glass, right?
Just pull this
but
up.
if I can hold this and I can turn this into a colored glass, say black.
Yep.
I know it's clear, but because I can hold it, I can take it with me. I can change what you think of what's really happening. That's essentially, you know, so when you get when you have a central authority, you can change how it looks or what it does or the shape or anything revolving around it, because it's centralized and all the information is sitting in this glass. Right, so that because you can put your hands on it, you can do anything to it. You could paint it. You could scratch it. You could do it. What happens when you can't put your hand on the glass? What happens when you don't have any ability to manipulate something or change something that it's not? So what happens, because you don't care about a name associated to an election vote. What you care about is the amount of people that are registered to vote and the amount of votes for either party. It doesn't matter if Robert Dawson voted Republican or, you know,
Sure.
It's the quantity of votes for either party. So when you're not in a place where you can manipulate those votes because it's more convenient for your narrative, like when you can't put your hands on it, that's what the blockchain is. It's just breadcrumb after breadcrumb, and they can't, like, what votes are voted for, like what parties are voted for or voted for. There's no
What
way.
if we didn't have politicians anymore? What if we had
awesome.
DAOs issues? DAOs with a smart contract set up that went to accounts that had smart contracts that took care of all the things that we think we need politicians for. Maybe we need to stop asking our government to like protect us from evil forces and giving them our power so that then they go and do the things that we wanted protection from in the first place. Maybe government role needs to be more administrative.
Well, isn't that initially what? Isn't that really what it's supposed to be?
Yes.
Isn't that how we initially set it up?
For sure.
Is that why
I
you?
love it.
Is that why you
Yeah.
feel like this seems more like the way that it's supposed to, or more in line with the?
Absolutely. And me and you talk about stoicism a lot, and it almost goes back to just being virtuous. There's a breadcrumb trail like you're talking about, and there's no way for you to get out of, and maybe there is, and we just don't know about it. But there's really no way for you to get away with the things that people have been getting away with for hundreds of years now.
Let me ask you this: if there was, why would they be fighting every step of the way to counter it?
Exactly. Yeah.
Because you don't know it. You don't know what's good for you, Brett.
Correct. Correct.
Why would they
Also-
challenge? Go ahead, Neil.
Also, like, consider the financial system, right? Like, I studied economics in school. It's a man-made system.
Yeah.
Guys sat around just like we're sitting around right now, and they came up with it. And so it's kind of like inches. Inches is a man-made measurement. Dollars is a man-made measurement. Whatever comes next is going to be like some hybrid of a man-made ET measurement. and so, like, the idea that we're going to run out of money or we're going to run out of all that stuff, it's just a story, and
Yeah.
it's not true. We're infinite beings having a human experience, and it's just going to get better from here. The worst is in the past, and now we're coming up with solutions. So I like what we're saying. So now we agree that the way we see it is that government is just an administrative role. It doesn't have power over us anymore. We're not in agreement with taxes. We decided to,
Yeah.
Fuck.
we
Uncle
like
Sam.
this concept of DAOs. We're all going to go home and YouTube DAOs and watch the whiteboard crypto video on what a DAO is. It's 9 minutes long, and start using our minds. So how I'm going to participate in DAO, give our energy to those things,
Yeah. Yeah. No, it is interesting, like, and learning about these different applications of this stuff, because part of what is exciting me about this is that it's not just ending with currency, right? Like this guy that I just interviewed last week, his name's Nick, and he started it's an NFT based project. It's called the Clean Lands Project, and he's basically using NFTs as a vehicle to clean up the environment. So it's you buy like an NFT, and then that's associated with picking up X amount of pounds of trash, and then from there,
I love it.
yeah, and when I heard that, I was like, "What the fuck are you talking about?" And then he explained it. He's like, "No, it's not about this. It's you take this, and the NFT is like basically like a replacement for, like, the artwork is something that you get, but like the NFT is like a signal that you're part of this, and you can be part of this DAO, and then you have to do a trash cleanup to actually unlock the benefits of this NFT." I was
cool.
like, you know what, like, I don't, even though I still don't fully understand it, I'm probably gonna like buy into it and just like see what happens and see where it goes, and because it's like that other piece of, like we talked about before, it's like, I pay the taxes, so I don't fucking want to clean up the environment, like, but by doing this, you kind of become part of something. I can actually learn about it, put my energy towards it, and see what this stuff turns into, because you can't really understand it till you do it. Not me, at least.
I agree completely. And there's something in the language of understand. Maybe you didn't understand the old system too good either.
No, I had no concept of the old system.
Yeah.
And that's what happened is I put money in the stock market. I'm like, okay, I'm kind of getting this, like 6 to 8%. I'm like,
now you overstand the old system. You don't understand it. You overstand. You stand over it. You know better.
oh, that's a good point.
So, like, in the language, there's so many secrets that we can unlock. And so maybe if you stop saying that you don't understand this new thing yet, maybe you'll overstand it really soon.
That's right. Actually, I wanted to tell you I'm an expert, and I am starting a course on this. So if you guys want to buy into my course, I'll send you that link. You could pay me in crypto.
Yes, and I agree to that. And I want to meet that guy who's doing that NFT thing you were telling us about. So we got to figure out.
Yeah, his name is Nick. His name's Nick Schmidt.
Okay.
I'll send you his info, after
Okay,
this.
cool. Yeah.
And I'll
Awesome.
put it in the show notes for anybody that wants to check it out.
Check out his project. I love
Yeah,
that.
it's pretty cool. I like it. I'll probably end up picking up some trash. I'm
Yeah.
probably gonna end up making you pick up some trash.
I'll be there. Yeah.
Something. Go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna say, when you're picking up trash, guess what you're doing with your energy? You're focusing it in a way that benefits you and benefits others, and you're not doing it expecting anything in return. And so the universe now, in its infinite ways to help you out, will help you in the things that you want to do too,
Yeah,
because you're somebody who naturally uses your energy to help those around you.
yeah, yeah,
Something on a everyday person minded level. I think one of the most realist and easiest ways to understand decentralization is look at what happened when Parler didn't censor people.
yeah.
The App Store said, get out. How did they say get out? Well, they own and control the App Store. Now, let's take it a step further. Let's say, okay, when Amazon threatened to close their account. Well, why could they close their account? Well, because AWS controls and regulates and owns it. So when you remove those components when no one owns it, you cannot tell someone to pack her shit and leave.
Yeah,
That is decentralization.
yeah,
So had Parler been on, a DApp, which is a decentralized app, they would have had zero issues. Because no one can tell you to leave because no one owns it. No one has the ruling authority to say, get out.
So how are people building like dApps that are big enough to manage stuff like that at scale?
I mean, there's tons of different innovations. I mean, we haven't even scratched, much less surface scratch, where the blockchain is going. Every app in existence that we know today, if it's banking, if it's calorie counting, if it's personal notes, literally every app that we have at our fingertips today is centralized.
Yeah,
And it's so wild and so many and so diverse. Like, people are just, we haven't even touched the innovation that's coming in the decentralized application world. And it's a sexy time to be alive, man. Like, DC's gone down the embankment and into the river, but the rest of us, because we can bypass government and we can ignore government and we can make our own rules and govern amongst ourselves, we now have a new system that's bringing such a revolutionary value to doing things better than we did yesterday. Having our financial freedoms, having us decide how we manage our money,
yeah,
how we live our lives.
yeah,
It's taking power back from the corrupt. And you are more in control of your life and how you decide to live it, what to buy, where, so on and so on. Like, that in itself, that sovereignty is a beautiful thing. Like, everyone's gotten so focused on what I don't have.
yeah,
And part of and this kind of correlates to Neil's philosophy, being happy with what you don't have brings that constant, like, negative state of mind where, like, oh, I wish I had $1 million.
Yeah.
I wish I had an R8.
yeah,
I wish I had a 10-bedroom house. Well, someone this morning didn't wake up. Someone lost a child by miscarriage this morning. Someone's father didn't wake up. Someone's daughter got killed. So, part of this is it's a massive punch to humankind where you need to start appreciating what you do have versus what you don't. Because then you start appreciating the fact that you got up out of bed this morning and you're not paralyzed because someone in the world woke up paralyzed this morning.
yeah,
We've seen what not being satisfied with what we do have has gotten us in a level of corruption and all the other negative areas of life. And that, again, similar to the founding fathers wanting us to self-govern, wanting us to make laws and rules amongst our communities together. We're never going to find answers in government, because government, the same people who have created our problems, are telling us that we're the problem.
Yeah.
They are the problem.
Yeah.
That's the beginning and end. So, this is a stepping stone in the right direction to start taking more control over your life, rather than the sovereignty and the ability to be free, like those levels of freedom that we've just complied or just handed to, the U.S. government to decide for us.
Yeah.
Like the cryptocurrency, no matter what coin it is, again, cryptocurrency right now, it's doing exactly what it was built to do. It was built to resist government. It was built to rebel against government. It's built to be a firewall against government. And that's why you're hearing names come out of the woodwork you've never even known has existed. It's doing its purpose.
Yeah.
It's allowing us to function without government.
Yeah.
In this innovation that's coming, not even coming, that's here, the world at the end of this is going to reunite. And it's not going to be us versus Afghanistan anymore. It's not going to be us versus Russia. One thing we all have in common is bad politicians.
Yeah.
Like hate is
Hit the nail on the
not
head.
hate is not organic.
You just
Yeah.
got to be careful though, because it's like when you say that they're bad, right? Now you're judging them. How do you feel when they're bad? I mean, I get that there's like the funny part where you're like, oh, they're bad. We need to get rid of them. That's enough. But on the other hand, on some level, they're you too. And when you make a judgment on somebody else, you hold yourself as separate from them, and the inner being doesn't agree with you. You don't feel good. You're like, that guy's an idiot. You don't feel good.
Yeah.
So now you're putting that energy out into the world, and you're attracting based on that. I know it sounds like I'm nitpicking here, but the truth is if you can use those eyes of Christ and you can see the best in everyone, that politician was doing the best they could from the place that they thought. Maybe they were bribed. Maybe they said they'd kill their family. Maybe who knows what happened, right? But let's just let them off the hook. Let's forgive them. Let's give them a hug, bring them into our heart space, and tell them it's okay. And then let's go on about building the new parts.
Yeah. Yeah.
Guys, I gotta start get going.
Yeah,
here.
we just went over on our time for the recording. We still have the cameras are recording, but
Okay.
Neil, you are no longer on video recording.
It was nice to meet you guys. Pleasure.
Yeah.
You too, Neil. Thanks
Yeah,
for
it was
that,
nice
man.
meeting you,
Hopefully
man.
we
This
get
was
to do something. You guys can call me, Matt. We can hook up on the phone too. You guys can call me, text me.
I love that.
hell
Let's
yeah.
find something to do together.
Cool.
Oh, I
This is fun.
forgot. that
Absolutely.
This is you're still on the stream. Okay. All right. Cool. No, we're
Brad,
good.
It was nice hearing your voice, brother. Nice points tonight.
Yeah.
You're really like. I mean, not I want to be proud of you or anything, but I'm kind of proud of you.
Aw,
man.
buddy. Listen, you are the one that woke me up to this shit. So, I am very thankful for it, because it's, the more you force yourself through those uncomfortable experiences, the more you're like, there's nothing better in life right now than the freedoms that are on their way.
Yeah, and I'm
Absolutely.
thankful. I'm thankful to you for doing the other show and then saying as soon as we got off, you got to talk to Neil. And then I guess I'm thankful that Matt made me do this podcast. So you know what? I'll give you something.
You're welcome.
You're also a piece of shit. Sorry, Neil. This is just our friendship. But
You guys are like a band, You got like a drummer and a guitar player. You guys are like a band.
yeah,
Kind of.
yeah.
It's cool. I think you're gonna have a lot of success with your show.
Thanks, man. Well, thanks for being a guest. I appreciate you guys coming on. This was very illuminating. So I learned a ton. I think.
Oh, so much.
Yeah.
this
So
was-
thanks, guys. I appreciate it.
Yep,
And
thank
thank you everybody for listening.
Okay,
Have a good night.
my pleasure. Nice to talk to everyone.
See ya.
See ya.
Bye.